Welcome back to the Versus Vortex podcast. I am one half of the show, Z, and where is my Cookie Monster host on the other end?
What's up, guys? This is Cameraman here, and today I want to talk about coaching in the FGC. In Dota, in a lot of even in LOL and Valorant and all the other esports that you see, CS:GO, there's always a coach coming before the game, in the middle of the game, and during timeout, and also after the game. They even have like special equipment to have the coaches chime in and talk to the players. And in Street Fighter 4, there used to be so many coaches, everyone like shouting, whispering street nothings into the players' ears. But in Street Fighter 5, everyone's like have to struggle and think about it, him or herself.
Well, a lot of the esport titles you just mentioned that have coaching in them are team games. And what's really unique and beautiful about the fighting game community is traditionally
Mm-hmm.
it is a one-on-one sport. You see two life bars, the one that drains the fastest is the loser, the one
Mm-hmm.
that remains standing is the victor. So, I think that there are some pretty big differences, not only in game mechanics and, of course, budgets that allow for coaching, but what's really important this year is the 1 million Street Fighter bucks. They used to be like a meme, Street Fighter bucks. Now it's like real fight money.
1 milli.
That 1 milli, that I think changes the conversation, which is why we're talking about coaching
Yeah,
for
I
Street
mean,
Fighter
in
6.
boxing, there's always a boxing coach. You're talking about one on one, right? MMA. But is it
Can
necessary in the fighting
can
game community? Because everything is so fast. Like, I'm the viewer. I don't want to watch people talk. I don't want to be watching people talk. If I want to watch people talk, I tune into Versus Vortex podcast.
what a question. I'm not too familiar with boxing. Can you coach during
Yeah,
the
the guys
match?
shouting at you. Remember? Like, if you watch. Okay, I'll use
Rocky
the.
Balboa.
Yeah, yeah. And Mickey is like, gotta hit him harder. He's on the ropes, hit him. Or, Rocky, get up.
So I think that's an apt analogy.
Mm,
Boxing, one-on-one sport, very similar to fighting games. And to your really valid issue of not wanting to waste time, viewers aren't tuning in to see people talk. Maybe coaching is only allowed while they're playing, and you can't have like some 5 minute inspirational Goodwill Hunting talk, and it's time boxed in the same way that in many sports your timeout is limited. So is your replay challenge, right? Because there's all these considerations for the viewers. So I think we could time, yeah, like you have 30 seconds to get your advice in, right? Like say whatever you want, but after that, the match will go on. You can't hold up the flow of the action, which is a really strong selling point for fighting games for coaching.
but I think, is there is there a law, a rule? I don't think there's a timeout rule right now in the CPT or in the SF. I think in the SFL there is, but there's none in the CPT. Or there isn't
Yeah,
any.
like as
No,
a
but
great
wait.
point.
The
Yes.
producers of Capcom just made the rematch button faster. Like, they don't want you to watch the outro. They don't want you to think about it. Just hit
Hmm.
rematch. It's like maybe 1 or 2 seconds. You get straight into the game again. So do they really want someone to come and talk and break the flow of the game? Is that a valid strategy? Because it plays into the meta, right? Obviously, the winning player does wants to wants to continue his like what should I
Momentum.
momentum, yes. And they don't want someone to come and talk and possibly lose, right? So what happens if the player doesn't want to coach? Then how
It'll
do you
be
balance that? Does that
so
play into negotiation?
terrible if your coach came and gave you advice and you shoo him or her off. Like, don't talk. But that's an interesting dynamic too, right? Like, anytime there's player and coach conflict, that creates drama. I
Mm,
think any game company is placing importance on not only its competitive rigor, but also its entertainment value. And coaching can provide both of those things. Case in point, there is a pretty epic match when Infiltration in the 25th anniversary Capcom tournament was down 0-3, right? He's on the brink of elimination. Calls in his buddy Laugh, who then whispers some sweet nothings, like a fighting game muse into the ears of the player, who then has a miraculous turnaround 6-0 victory.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they
And
won a
won the car.
car that year. And so that when I think of those dramatic storylines, and we assume that a player can't do everything by him or herself, in the same way that a successful player in sports or even esports has a huge army and village and team behind them, whether it's a social media person, whether it's a dietitian and telling you to sleep and eat right, whether it's a partner, right, in your personal life that gives you encouragement. There's so many things that I think will allow viewers to relate to a player if it's like more humanized. Like these aren't super, they are like super stars, but coaching and advice is like a big element of that. And as the stakes increase, right, $1 million compared to the $10 we used to play for, it is important to get any type of advantage. And I think that the production budget hopefully also sort of supports this money trickling down to everyone in the ecosystem, not just the players, but everyone in the supporting tertiary team around them.
I think in the time of, you know, currently in the FGC, there is going through a lot of changes because of this $1 million. Setups have to be less laggy. There
Yep.
needs to be audio. You're still sitting on hotel room seats to play. There's no standardization. So I
Mm.
really don't think coaching is going to be on the tippy top of that list of things that the players are thinking about when they're training right now. I don't think they haven't been coached in such a long time. And I think it's also in the DNA of players where they might not want to coach. They don't, the ego is so big that they're like, why do I need, who are you to tell me I've won Evo, I've won Capcom Cup. What have you done? How does
Did Michael Jordan not need Phil Jackson or
didn't Phil Jackson win
any?
a ring?
He's the winningest coach. I don't know who has like the most rings. Greg Popovich was behind the success of the Spurs. Any name any superstar,
Yeah, but
and
how
there's
many how
likely
many how many existing these are like this is 100-year franchise. A 75 years franchise. How many coaches in the FGC is still playing? There's no like there's no one retired.
thank you for bringing that up, which is as players get older, and I know that we benefit from playing a game that has a lot of longevity, and our pro players are on average much older than your LOL player, your Fortnite player. That's great. But if we want a ecosystem, and I sound like I'm subsidizing the elderly, we need to create jobs for people to exit of their out of their pro career, whether that's being an influencer or a content creator. But coaching should be a viable option when your reflexes fail you and you can't do hit confirms on 16 frame normals. That day will come for all of us. It certainly came for me much earlier, but we cannot grow as an industry if we cannot support the longevity of a person's livelihood. Otherwise, we're sort of destroying someone's youth. If we're like, yo, you only got 3 years to shine and then you're out, when our payouts are still relatively lower, it's not going to be like life-changing money. Though certainly this year, that conversation has changed with the milli y'all.
Yeah, I mean everything you said is great. It's maybe like for me I think it's not going to happen that soon. It's happening now. This is the first year. What you're saying is like the ideal. We're in the real world. What you're saying is not the real world. It's in
I'm
somebody
a,
else's world. The NBA world, the LOL, the Dota world. It's not in this fighting game world yet. Like I don't think it's gonna happen. I want to find out. Like in the comment section, let us know when will we see this utopian esports future that Z has laid out. Like five
Well,
years?
also let me know in the comments if you're looking for, oh, that's our timer to stop. Last thing I'll say, if you're looking for a coach, let us know, let me know in the comments. All I take is a 10% fee
That's a
off
lot.
of your Dude, that's like less than an agent fee.
The other guys are taking like, well, the esports teams take about 20 to 30%. So
Okay, then I'm my rate is lower than the Dota folks of the world. I'm very affordable and I can negotiate too. Like
okay.
I'm not just the yeah, and I will you know
Well,
what?
state your case. Where have you coached? Where have we seen you coach? That now is the time. Show us your resume. What have you done?
There is a champion in Singapore who won Evo before, and I would like to think that's not true. I was gonna say Cien is talented enough that he would have won anyway. I'd like to think that I
I I'm usually
maybe he
negative,
was
but I'm going to say
yeah.
something. After he, well, actually, he's still winning, so it doesn't.
Yeah, let's not jinx it. That's why I haven't coached him like since or tried to because he's just off the charts. But I think I have a resume, and it doesn't have to be the gameplay too. I will like cook and clean for you. A coach isn't just like the in-game thing.
I
I coach
think
you
I
in
think you're going
life.
the wrong direction, Z. It's more about the social media. They need social
Yes,
media support, YouTube videos, Twitter. Your Twitter game is on point.
I will edit Cien Eats and all your culinary content. We are well over time. Just let me know in the comments. My rates are very negotiable. It is going to be a bright future when we can expand jobs just beyond professional players and incorporate different skill sets from the workforce and the economy. So I'm all for the coaching. Let me know in the comments. We will check you out in the next episode.